news very closely.
In fact, let's talk about both of those issues inside the Beltway. The man who held out until the very last minute before giving the White House the votes it needed to pass health care reform is calling it quits.
When I first ran for Congress in 1992, I campaigned on a pledge to make affordable quality health care a right, not a privilege, for all Americans. I promised the people of the 1st Congressional District that I would not accept the insurance that members of Congress receive, the federal employees' health benefit package, until all Americans could have access to the same quality of care. For the last 18 years, I've kept that promise.
Bart Stupak's decision comes even after President Obama called him, urging him not to retire. For more on the casualties for voting in favor of health care reform, we're joined now by Wall Street Journal executive Washington editor Jerry Seib, as well as Republican Congressman Michael Burgess of Texas. He is also a medical doctor. Good to see you both. Congressman, I want to go to you first on whether or not this was the single reason, the health care reform vote, as to why Congressman Burgess is leaving. I know even though you're on the opposite side of the aisle, you're still friends with the guy.
Well, let me just point out, Congressman Burgess is not leaving. Congressman Stupak said
Congressman Stupak, forgive me, doctor. Go ahead.
But I do sit with Bart on the committee where he's the chairman of the Subcommittee of Oversight and Investigations. I'm the highest-ranking Republican. And I got to tell you, that's a big deal to give up a gavel. That's what a lot of us go to Congress to do, is to achieve that modicum of success where we have some control over things. And for Bart to be leaving at this time, that is no small thing. Bart is a friend, and I feel for him in the struggle that he's had this past 3 weeks. But, you know, it was predictable. You watched what happened to the senator from Nebraska after he switched his vote largely on the life issue and caved to some language on the Senate side. And you know, it was tough for him, and I can just imagine that it was tough for Bart and his family after they went back to the Upper Peninsula in Michigan after taking this vote.
Jerry Seib, are there more Bart Stupaks to come?
Well, I don't know that there are more resignations to come. There clearly are a lot of House Democrats who cast a tough vote and who are going to have to wrestle with that for the rest of the year up to the election. You know, you could easily construct a list of a dozen or so House Democrats in particular who are going to have to try hard back home to explain the health care vote. A few on both sides, by the way. Mostly they'll have to explain why they voted for a health care bill that's unpopular in their district. There are a few. Congressman McMahon from New York, for example, has got some pushback from the left for having voted against that bill. So this was a tough vote, a career-making vote potentially for some of these people, and it's going to be an issue for the rest of the year, and that's particularly true for a small subset of House Democrats.
Well, Congressman Burgess, what does Stupak's leaving mean for health care legislation?
Well, it meant that they never should have pushed through a bill that did not have popular support from the American people, and that was the fundamental problem. This bill was enormously unpopular in the country. They said once we find out what's in it, we're going to like it, but that whole attitude just really underscores how out of touch many of the people in the Capitol are with what their constituents are feeling back home. Yeah, it was a tough vote. It's been a tough several months as this thing has been ran through. None of that was necessary. There were plenty of places we could have worked together on this. Bart and I see eye to eye on a lot of things, but the fact is they never really gave it the chance to work on it together in any means. Had we taken this step by step, the Americans would have understood what we were trying to do and trying to fix those problems that they acknowledge are in the system. But just trying to push through this fruit basket turnover is not a good idea.
It's now the law, so looking forward, do you expect to see severe ramifications, or are you already hearing, as we are at least from some CEOs, just yesterday here on Fox Business, the Eli Lilly, big pharmaceutical company CEO, said it was a thumbs up in the end. In fact, there are safeguards put in to make sure that it doesn't crimp too much research and development on big pharmaceutical companies or some of the drug developers and medical products device makers, and maybe people are absorbing this and moving on? Or do you feel that come November and come some of these elections, we'll still continue to see some aftershocks of this?
It does not surprise me that one of the companies that was part of one of the deals of which we can get no information from the White House, it does not surprise me that they think that maybe this is going to be okay after all. But I am telling you, just regular folks back here at home in my district are extremely nervous and upset about what has happened. And, you know, 4 weeks ago they were saying, I'm afraid for my government. Now they're saying, I'm afraid of my government. Look what they're going to make me do. Purchase a product that I may not want, need, or be able to afford, and use the Commerce Clause to enforce that. That's never happened in our history. That's not what people want to see their government do. People feel that the Constitution is there to protect them from their government, not empower their government to take more and more of their freedom. And yet, that's exactly what we've done with this bill.
But Jerry, even if Republicans win the House in the 2010 elections, they won't be able to put through a new bill because they won't be able to override a presidential veto, right?
Well, I think that's probably right. First of all, I still think it's unlikely Republicans take back the House. It's possible, but I think the odds are still against it. That's a long hill to climb. There's also the possibility that in some districts there's going to be some upside potential for Democrats in this health care vote. I understand in some districts like the Congressman's that's probably not true, but in others I think there's been a re-energizing of the Democratic base, and that's going to help them a little bit. But at the end of the day, I don't think the repeal option, even after the 2010 election, looks like it's highly likely. I think this is going to be much more a long-term battle over implementation and modification of what was passed this year.
Jerry Seib of the Journal and Representative Burgess, a Republican from Texas. Great to have you both. Thank you so much.
There's a lot of rulemaking that has to go on to get this bill into effect.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Well,